This is section, let's go to this thing. Oops, there we go. All right, it's section, we're kind of going in a weird order. It's 13.5. All right, and then we're going to do law cosines. Does anybody remember, at least remember studying the law of cosines last year? Do you remember the phrase at least? Okay, all right. Well, let's just show you. It's a simple formula. It's really not hard to do at all, and I'm not going to go through any kind of proof or anything with it. You could go online. I've actually seen a couple proofs. In fact, I don't know if Khan does one on the law of cosines. I know he does one on the law of sines, which is kind of interesting, but we'll just show you how to do it. Okay, it starts off very similar to Pythagorean theorem. And this is something you have to memorize. Okay, so you will have to memorize this. So that's Pythagorean theorem, isn't it? What's that? Just way too much stuff? Come on. It's not that. Look, it's Pythagorean theorem. You already have that memorized, don't you? Okay, watch. If you do this, okay, quit crying now. If you have, if you know Pythagorean theorem, you just tag on a little bit at the end. And watch. Here's a way to remember this before I even write the rest of it down. The way to remember this is every time you do one of these problems, don't just write the formula once at the top, all right, and then refer back to that formula. Every single time you do a new problem, I would rewrite this formula. No, you say, well, that's a waste of time. I already got it one time at the top. I can just look at it, right? Or it's in my notes. I don't even have to write it on my homework. I just look at my notes at the formula. But if you want to memorize it, okay, you write it down every single time. So it's minus 2ab. And why in the world is it the law of cosine? I don't see cosine anywhere. Well, it's right here. Cosine of c. That's it. Now, what in the world does all that mean? Well, I'm glad you asked. All right, it's these are sides of a triangle. Now, it's not necessarily a right triangle. We know how to solve a right triangle with trig functions, with Pythagorean theorem, and that kind of thing. Well, sometimes you just don't have enough information to do a trig function. Because, by the way, you can only use a trig function with what type of triangle anyway? A right triangle. Okay, so this is for non-right triangle. This is one way to solve a non-right triangle for either a missing angle or a missing side or something like that. Okay, so let's do. I'll tell you what. I'll just draw a little triangle here. Alright, like this. And you could call, it doesn't matter which side's what. The C does not have to be the longest side or anything like that. Okay, they're just three sides. Now here is something that's true that, watch. If this is side A, this angle that's across or opposite side A, what do you think it's going to be called? Angle A. And we always show an angle with a capital letter. Alright, so that is gonna that does have to be true for this to make any sense at all. So if this is side A, this is angle A. If this is side C, talk to me. Angle C, side B, angle B. You with me on that? So that's the important thing, is to understand that the big angle, the big B, the capital B, is across from the lowercase or the small b. Small b represents the side, the big B represents the angle, and so on with the A and the C. We good with that? All right. Let's write down an example. Let's see. I'll tell you what. Let me pause this while I write it down. Okay, here's our little picture. We've got a triangle. This angle right here is 36 degrees. We've got these two sides. We don't know what this angle is. We don't know what this angle is. We don't know what this side is. Now, it's not a right triangle. We don't know that it's a right triangle. So we can't use a regular trig function. We can't use Pythagorean theorem. So we have to have another way to do this. This is perfectly set up for you. Now, this does say c squared and then cosine c. It doesn't always have to be in that order. This just means you take the cosine of the angle that's opposite this side right here. Does that make sense? So if I know this side and the angle that's opposite, that's going to be my C. So in this situation, it's not really the C. What is it in this situation? It's the B. I know some books, and in fact, this book does, and I don't think there's any use for it. They write three different forms of this. They'll put a squared equals. What do you think? If they said a squared, they would make this what? B squared plus C squared minus 2 BC cosine of A. All right? You follow me on that? They write it three different ways. I don't really think that's necessary. You just look, if there's an angle and there's a side opposite, that's the C, and that's what you're taking the cosine of. So let's set this up with just the numbers. So it's going to be B squared equals the other two sides squared and added up. Okay, the sum of the squares of the other two sides. So what do we got? 7 squared plus 5 squared minus 2. Now this is easy because look, that's these two things right here. See the A and the B in this original problem? You just put it right here. Actually, I don't know why I put 5 first. It doesn't matter though, does it? But I'll just put it in the same order that we have it here. And then what? Cosine of the angle that's opposite this side right here. What angle is opposite this side right here? The 36. So we just go 36. Okay? Now, we just throw this in a calculator, basically. Now, what am I going to do to all this stuff? Once I stick all this stuff in the calculator, what am I going to do to it? I get to take the square root. So, it just depends on how you want to use your calculator. Now, here, let me give you a little hint on the calculator. Okay, using parentheses. Putting in parentheses on your own. Okay, they may not put them here. Depends what calculator you have. If you have a graphing calculator, I'd start off with square root and then put a big old parentheses right here. If you have just a regular scientific calculator, like the, what do you call it, XA30 or something like that, I would just do this. I would go 7 squared plus 5 squared minus, watch, parentheses here, parentheses here. That's the key to this problem. Okay, you put it in your parentheses, put your parentheses in, and you get 78 degrees. All right. Well, that was the bell, wasn't it? So let's do this. There's one more style of problem where you actually have to get the angle by itself, and I'll do this in the second class. Look at it tonight, please, please, please look at it, okay, so you can see it. It's a little bit more difficult. It's not much, okay? It's just a little tiny bit of algebra. This is real straightforward. This is just plug and chug, throw it into a calculator. That's all it is. Why did I put 78 degrees? I have no idea. Yeah, I know. I'm looking at, they're solving for angle A. That's what angle A is going to be, and I just looked in the wrong place. It's 4.2. All right, so B is 4.2 when you put it in calculator. All right, yeah, let's do a few problems. Let's do, oh, you know what? I even made up a quiz for you, and I forgot to give you the quiz. I just got so hung up on something else. So let's go. I'll tell you what, just take it easy this weekend. Have fun. Have fun. That's all right. I'll double you up on Monday. No, not really. I'm not even kidding.